Hello YouTube, Xisuma here with another episode of Xisuma's World. So 1.2 is out and I've just updated, and because of this I've had to abandon the project that I had planned for this episode. And I'd actually recorded about half of this episode, which is a little disappointing, but I've got a new project that we're going to do that I think most of you are going to be really excited about. So before we do that, I just want to give you a quick rundown on the project that I was working on, and then we'll move over to the new project. So I was working on the advanced cave spider system, and it's something I talked about in the last episode. I want to explain it again quickly and what I had planned for this episode. And what I wanted to do was walk you through the whole creation of the redstone behind it, because redstone to me is actually quite simple, and I think it would be to more people if they could see it the way I did. So I'll show you what I was going to do in a moment, but first of all we're going to check out the cave spiders, because the farm has been nerfed, which is why I have to abandon the project. So I've updated to 1.2 already, and here we go, we've got a spider coming through. So he comes through the water as normal, but he can also track me. So now he's resisting the flow of the water and slowly heading towards me. And because of this, it means unless you have a very basic, say, one spawner set up, then they're going to basically not work. So I usually stand around here to activate all the spawners, and now the ones in the farm down here are just going to simply go to the corner because they're not going to get pushed by the water anymore. So I wanted to do this episode in a way where I could show you how the redstone works, and I'm not talking about the individual parts, I'm talking about overall. So we have a complex system, and I drew up this flow diagram to break it all down, and then I was going to build it part by part, and then that way you could see how it would work. So I still want to explain it to you because I think you'd find it interesting. So first of all, the way I wanted this to work was we would have spiders load on one side, and then we'd have a one button input, and we'd press that button and would activate the crusher on one side, at which point this loading gate at the back, which is these two blocks, they would swap over and the water would redirect the other way. Then the spiders would load on this side, and this means the system wouldn't get backed up at all. And as well as that, I was hoping that we'd have some slimes gather here, and we'd be able to throw a splash potion between the two, and then we'd get XP from the slimes as well as the cave spiders. So I figured everything out about how this machine would work, and I broke it down into different parts so I could explain how it would work, and then each part we would find the right redstone to make that part happen. So I've made the diagram with signs here, and first of all we start with our input button, and next to that we also have this indicator, which would be like a redstone torch to let you know when the machine was active. So the input button would go into an anti-spam device, and this would be a redstone circuit that would allow the input to send or be sent once into the anti-spam, and then for a certain amount of time it would ignore any other inputs. So this means I couldn't bash the button repeatedly and mess up the system, and that's something obviously I wouldn't do, but I like to make things idiot proof. So then the anti-spam would send the signal off to 3 different places, and the first it would do would be the T flip-flop, and the T flip-flop here controls the loading gate and the activate crusher. So the loading gate is, oh, we can't go that way because of the repeater. The loading gate is these two bits here, and we'd have a T flip-flop that would swap them, and then it would also swap round which crusher would be used, and that's where the anti-spam also sends its signal to the delayed crusher timing. So that would wait for the T flip-flop to activate one of the crushers, and then it would activate the timer, and then it would crush. And I thought that would be an interesting way of doing it, because we would have one timer circuit for both crushers. So the anti-spam also sends a signal to the disable timer, and this controls the redstone torch, and this is simply to indicate that the machine is in use. So at that time as well, it's also going to send a signal to our double piston extender override. So we have these two double pistons that we're going to push up all the drops and EXP after the machine had been used, and this means that we wouldn't be able to do that while we're in crushing mode. And I'll just show you how this works. I haven't hooked it up to anything else yet, because this was the first thing I decided to build, and yeah, you can see it pushes it up here, and I also tested it as well, and it pushed up all the drops in EXP to the surface. So I'm kind of disappointed that, you know, we couldn't build all the redstone and stuff, but I wanted to explain it to you anyway, so you can see how I've broken the machine down into individual parts, and then I would have hooked them up one by one and built it that way. So we're going to have to leave that because I think we're going to have to find a new way to farm these spiders, so we'll have to say goodbye to this project, and now it's time to move on to our new one. So the project that I want to do in this episode, can you guess? I am going to build the animal breeding machine, and it's something I know quite a few of you have wanted to see for a long time. I've been putting it off until 1.2 came out, and it's out now. We've got a working breeding machine, if you saw the tutorial I put up, and now I'm going to build it in Atlantis. And the first thing I want to point out is that I'm not going to build the same machine as I did in my tutorial. It will use the same mechanics for the cells and the breeding bay, but I want to give it more options and make it more advanced, and yeah, there's quite a few ideas I've got at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare myself, and I'm going to be making trips back and forth and getting all the resources I need together and ready to build this. Okay, I've been back to the base and I've brought down loads of supplies for building the animal breeding machine. I've also got lots of wool, which I got from the cave spider farm. The cave spiders drop string, and I used to craft them together to make wool, so I thought this would be nice to use because it would kind of pay tribute to all the tutorials I've made, and in all of them I've always built the breeding machines out of wool. But then I've also thought that perhaps building it out of stone slabs would look better and kind of suit Atlantis more, and that works out nicely because I mined a lot of this area with a silk touch pick, so I've got plenty of stone for that. So down here I've split the area into two parts, and I'm going to build a breeding machine on either side, and as you can see I've lured all the animals over to that side so it would be easy to build without any interference. And I could probably fit 3 machines in a row in here, but it might be a bit of a squeeze. Plus there's only 2 animals that I really want to breed, and that's the mushrooms and the pigs, and that way we get both types of cooked drops. And mushrooms are basically cows anyway, so it seemed kind of pointless to breed them and cows as well. So they're the 2 that I'm going to breed, and I'm going to start building the machine on this side first. I've started building the breeding bay, and I really like how the stone slabs look. However, they are a bit overused, so I think I need another material to balance it out with. And as well as that, I'm not really happy with the height, and I think I might lower this about 3 or 4 blocks. So the area you stand at to breed the animals is just up here at the moment, and it's really too high to get a natural stairs up to the top or anything that I think would look decent. So I want to lower it down, and as well as that I've also got to consider the height of the cells. We don't want them being too high up because there's the redstone room and the paths to the other side up there. So lowering these tracks would be good as well. And I've also got this glass tube here, and this is where the baby goes to be processed, and I wanted to put in a glass floor around here as well so we could see the processing area from above. But what I'm going to do next is lower this all down and see how it looks. So I've lowered the breeding bay about 2 blocks, and where I've rebuilt it I tried to do something different, and I'm really not too happy with how it looks. In fact, I'm really struggling to get the aesthetics right, so what I think I'm going to do is move on and build the functionality stuff behind it, like the cells and the redstone, because none of that's really going to require any aesthetic work because it's just going to look like whatever it is. So I'll come back to the front at a different time. Okay, so one of the features that I want to improve on the animal breeding machine is the send animals back button, and the way it works means you can only press the button when you've just called out some animals or you've finished rotating through all of them, and I want to make it so we can press that at any time at all. So what we have here is a representation of the breeding machine. We got the breeding bay at the front here, and the rest of these blocks are cells with animals in, and torches represent the animals. So if I were to rotate all of the animals, these ones would come to the front, and then the cells at the back would be empty. And then if we were to press the send back button, these ones at the front would go to the back and all of the cells would be full again. But if I were to rotate the animals once more, these would go to the cells here, and these ones would all move up, and these ones here would be left empty. So as you can see, if we were to press the send animals back button at this point, they would be sent on top of these animals. We need to find a way to stop that from happening, and I've given it a lot of thought and I've come up with a solution. So as you can see, I've lowered down all the blocks to make showing you how it's going to work easy, and I'll just do it on the one side since the exact same thing is going to be happening on the other side. So we're going to press the rotate animals button, and it's going to look like this. And now what I want to happen is a delay to happen where it sends another signal to this cell here to move them forward. So if we were to do it again, it would look like this. This one will come here, they would all move around, and this one would be free. But because we press that button, the signal's going to come back round to this cell and move them on one cell again. And then we do it once more. I'm going to rotate them round like that. This one's going to be free, then the signal's going to come a little bit later from the button, and they're always going to move into that position there. And then when we press the send back animals button, this one's going to move here, and there's going to be no extra delay or timer, and that's the way we're going to fix it. So it's been quite a while since I last did a time lapse, and I thought it'd be really fun to do one for me building the breeding cells. You might not know, but I've actually never built them legitimately before, and as it goes, before I started doing the LP, the way I like to used to play the game was just to create things for other people to use. That's how I got my kick out of playing, and obviously now I love playing in the LP world, and I'm going to build it legit and see what it's like. Okay, so one of the keys to doing construction like this is preparation. So I have enough resources here, and I've laid them out for each cell, and we've got enough to do 4. Except we only have enough room to do 3 at the moment, and I've actually had to remove some of the breeding bay, and we're going to start our first cell here. So I've used the sandstone to mark out the corners of each breeding cell, and then when we build the breeding bay, we're just going to build it further forward, which I think I'd actually prefer. So I've got everything ready. I've even emptied my inventory, so building and finding resources should be really easy. We've got the pick and shovel, which we're going to need, some food, and an iron sword in case a mob spawns, which it shouldn't because the area is fairly well lit up. So yeah, let's get on with the time lapse. So I finished building the 3 cells, and it was actually quite easy to do, and it gave me a real sense of perspective with the tutorials because I build those in creative mode and I try and keep survival in mind, but it can be a little bit too easy when you're flying around placing blocks. But actually I followed my own tutorial and it was quite easy to do, so I didn't really have any major troubles apart from occasionally placing things like the pistons the wrong way round. But something strange did happen. I seem to always end up with an odd amount of wall blocks left over. So the first one that I built there was none, then the second one I built had 3 blocks left over, and the last one had 1, and I spent a long time looking around and I couldn't see where I missed them, so I'm not really sure what went on there. And one other thing is that I got the glass count wrong on the tutorial. There's actually 2 more blocks of glass needed, and that's about the only thing I seem to get wrong with the tutorials these days. I've got myself in a nice routine where I know where to double check everything, but I always seem to just miss one thing with the resources, so that was it this time. So now that it's built, we've got a couple of things to do. First of all, we want to sort out the light levels, place some torches down to make sure that no mobs spawn on it. And I really like how it looks. I think the size of it is good. I've been moving around and look at it from different angles, and I think if we had 3 of these in here it would have been really cramped, so quite happy that we got 2 in. And I think it's actually a good idea to build the breeding cells first. I think now that we got this here, it's going to be easier to build the bay. And I also really like the way I've used the wall. Not sure I'll do that for the bay as well, but yeah, I really like it. So what I want to do next is go have a look from up above. It looks really good from up here too, and I think it's going to look even better when we've hollowed out the stone at the back and the cells are just going to disappear into there. So now I'm just going to go place some torches on the top and then have another look from up here again. I've added the torches, and as you can imagine it just looks a little more visible from up here. So I'm happy with that, and now I want to test it. So to test this, I've simply set up some rails here that we can load animals into the cells with, and I've put these ones across the front and also ones across the back here as well, and we're just going to load up the animals and rotate them around and make sure that it's working properly. Okay, I've got 2 mushrooms in, and I'll tell you what, it was really difficult. I think part of the new mob AI is they look for new places to go, because every time I open these fences, well, mobs seem to just head straight for them. But yeah, so we've got the 2 mushrooms, and let's hope this goes nice and smoothly. Come on. Right, that one's in. We'll go this way. There we go, nice and easy. Now I've got to push them up, which is going to be a pain. Or maybe not. Okay, that's good. There might actually be a problem with doing it this way, because in creative mode when you're building one of these, you can't load up. There we go, go on. Look. Oh, that's not good. We don't want them loading like that. So as I was just saying about creative mode, there's a way to load these in properly, and this isn't it. So the way we done over here was the correct way, to just get the animal in the minecart and push it and it falls straight in. You don't want it like this, you don't want to nudge it in from the side, and you also don't want to place the minecart on the soul sand and then drop the animal from above. That would be using a spawn egg in creative mode. So the reason you don't want to do this is because when the machine sends the animals around and rotates them from cell to cell, they're going to go in the same way this one did over here, and when they land in the soul sand they're in the correct position. And if we nudge this guy in, it's probably a good chance it's not going to land in the right position, and then there's a small chance that when we activate the machine, the piston's going to extend and the rails is going to go that way, and then it's going to pull the minecart back in with it, which is what we don't want happening. So that could break the system. So what I need to do is break this minecart and then find a way to get this guy safely down and try again. So I've got them both in now, and I think we should do a test. And I've just realised that this could actually break the system. Let's just have a quick look. They're both in okay. Yeah, what I haven't got here is a pulse lengthener, and you do actually need to extend the pulse slightly. So I'm just going to build one of them quickly. Okay, I've added the pulse lengthener, so let's give it another go. Oh, and yep, they're rotating around nicely. If you wonder why they're one ahead of where they were before, it's because I accidentally pressed it when I was trying to remove the button. So let's do it one more time, and then we're going to log in and out. Yep, they're good. Okay, they're still there. And they both came over, that's great. Okay, so it appears to be working, and I'm obviously going to have to put more animals in here at some point and test it again. Okay, so next episode we're going to be filling this thing up and testing it a bit more, and then move on to building the breeding bay. And one thing I just realised is that there's quite a lot of information I know about this breeding machine. Lots of little things like, for example, I just showed you about how you load them properly and how it doesn't work if you load them differently in creative mode, like by using eggs. So if you have any questions about things you want to know, like maybe there's something you spotted with the machine and you always wondered why it was like that, then ask me in the comments and I'll pick out some of the best questions and we'll talk about that in the next episode. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.